Hey everyone, I'm Summer and welcome back to my channel where I chat with people that are changing the world. This is a part of my Teach Me Something playlist. Conversations I have with experts who help us make sense of experiences that many people are living but don't have all the language for. And today's episode is deep because we are exploring AuDHD, rejection sensitivity, and neurodivergent nervous patterns. And these might be topics that many high functioning adults have spent years feeling different without knowing why. My guest today is Stephanie Lewis. She's a late diagnosed neurodivergent school psychologist
Psychologist, yeah.
and special education teacher. And Stephanie is on a mission to make therapy accessible and neuro affirming. She's the creator of NeuroDraw. It's the first therapeutic process that's designed specifically to use non-language based trends, especially powerful for neurodivergent brains that process experiences differently from most of us, like traditional talk-based approaches. So Stephanie also teaches and speaks on AuDHD, rejection sensitive dysphoria, executive dysfunction, and transformative methods that are grounded in neurology rather than judgment. That is very important. Stephanie, I want to start with a term that I've heard from you before, which I don't fully understand. AuDHD. What is AuDHD? How is it different from simply having either autism or ADHD or both of them together? What can you say about AuDHD?
Thank you. And I want to say thank you so much, Summer, for having you on my
My
podcast and
pleasure.
giving a platform for this because it's very important.
Mm-hmm.
So, AUDHD occurs in 30 to 70% of people who are primarily autistic and
Mm-hmm.
14 to 21% in people who are primarily ADHD.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I am primarily ADHD. However, I also am quite autistic,
Mm.
meaning I'm very socially literate, not socially illiterate. Very concrete, but my brain is, for everything else, is very diverse and pattern recognition. Um, so the way that it's done is depends on which one of those is more predominant in the person. So for me, as someone who is predominantly ADHD, my issues then are going to look differently from someone who is predominantly autistic. And frankly, I think people who are predominantly autistic have a much easier time of the world. And that's
Mm.
because in my brain, I have a competing battle at all times
Mm-hmm.
between being impulsive, hyperactive, um, and along with needing intense structure and
Mm-hmm.
quiet. I'm the opposite of a party animal. My idea of a good time is being here in my office, learning something, and seeing
Wow.
how I can apply it, while at the same time kind of being a party animal and like going out. But then I get socially exhausted very easily. It's just a constant struggle. I'd also like to say I'm 64 and I found out at
Mm.
age 61. And
Whoa.
yeah, no,
Mm.
I am very late diagnosed, and because of other issues in my life, a lot. So, and this actually happens very frequently, and it's one of the
Mm.
issues with ADHD is that someone like me has learned to how to fit in as best we can, fit into the rest of the world, and that doing that includes something called masking. And I'm actually
Mm-hmm.
masking right now. So, what masking means is I'm doing my best to take the information that I know you need on this podcast and appear calm, structured, and
Mm-hmm.
somewhat neurotypical, even though inside my brain is on, do I need this? Do I need that? It just bing, bada bang, bada bang, bada bang, bada bang. But from the ADHD, along with, be quiet, be quiet, and that it is an eternal struggle in my
Mm.
mind.
Mm.
Now, however, it's very clear, though, that the richest people in the world, the billionaires, every one of those people
Mm.
are on the spectrum. I mean, if you look, they either have been officially diagnosed, like
Mm.
Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos,
Mm.
um, or they figured it out for themselves. Because in general, if you're on the spectrum, if you're ASD, the comorbidity of both have being AuDHD is actually between 70 and 90% of people.
Oh
Yeah,
my.
I know, I know, I know. So it's actually a huge number of
Hmm.
people. And the last thing here is it is not yet an official diagnosis. The APA, in their wisdom, hasn't put it there, even though they've known for 15, 20 years at this point
Hmm. Hmm.
about that this is true. So the biggest difficulties for someone like me is more intense executive dysfunction.
Hmm.
And that's because of that war in my mind
Hmm.
between needing this intense structure as well as not wanting to do things unless they're fun.
Hmm.
Um, Social exhaustion for me
Hmm.
is far, far, far worse. And I can see it around people. So someone, I have a close family member who has autism, and I feel like we're very similar. That person just, they go sit in a corner, they're fine. They don't care. They don't care if people see them. They don't care what any, they don't care about any of that. Even though in general we overthink things like that, then someone, the ADHD part of me
Hmm.
wants to go have fun and
Hmm.
wants to be the party animal. And I've had to learn how to regulate that in my life. And what I've come to is I go to parties for an hour or two and I leave. And
Hmm.
if I don't feel up to it, I don't go. I'm
Hmm.
not going to do this to myself. And my husband
Hmm.
and I kind of have a little thing that he knows. If Stephanie
Hmm.
says
Hmm.
she's going home, we're going home. That's kind of,
Okay.
that's, yeah. Well, it's better, it's either that or you know, what can be a crash or a meltdown, and that's not something that you want. I mean, it's
Yeah.
difficult. Okay. So, and then because the two mask each other quite a bit,
Hmm.
ADHD masks autism, and the other way, it's far more difficult for someone like me to be diagnosed, along
Hmm.
with being female. Females
Hmm.
tend to be
Hmm.
misdiagnosed as
Hmm.
bipolar, borderline personality disorder, and the big one was schizophrenia.
Oh my God.
Oh yeah. And to me, if you've got this diagnosis, any of those, and they put you on medication and you get worse, you don't have that. And it's because those medications actually make it worse. And it's because our hormones and our neurotransmitters, as well as the access that we have to different parts of our brain, are very different from a
Hmm.
neurotypical brain.
Hmm.
And so when I took stuff like that, it was an absolute bonkers disaster. So it's not saying that you shouldn't take medication. It's saying
Yeah.
that
Hmm.
there needs to be better insight from the medical community about
Hmm.
giving someone like me. Oh, so here's a good example:
Hmm.
Prozac, which is given out quite frequently
Yeah.
to for people.
Hmm.
Well, the problem with Prozac, because Prozac increases serotonin. So if you have ADHD, that makes the ADHD worse.
Hmm.
And it's because of how serotonin is used in an ADHD brain. What that means is that you tend to become more impulsive. So I've seen people become alcoholics suddenly, alcoholics. Another one is sexual aggression, physical
Hmm.
aggression. And the way I get people to understand it is like raves, which were big in the 80s and the 90s. And there was a drug that kids would take called ecstasy.
Hmm.
Ecstasy creates serotonin.
Hmm.
You took that so you could go wild and dance
Hmm.
and scream and yell and have fun and not eat and do this until you drop for several days. Okay, that's what they're putting in someone's brain with ADHD
Hmm.
who's already hyper aroused.
Hmm.
So that's an example of how the medical community doesn't have the kind of information to the practitioners that needs to occur. So there needs to be a lot of caution in taking traditional medications for that
Hmm.
reason.
That distinction matters so much,
Oh, huge.
especially when people try to fit themselves into one category or the other, and they don't understand diagnosis or don't understand
Right,
medication and don't
right.
understand the side effects that are happening, right? And
Absolutely.
I want to move into something more AUDHD individuals describe as the most painful part of the experience, rejective
Yes, yes.
sensitivity. I hear you talk about this a lot. Rejective sensitive dysphoria or RSD.
Mhm.
Um, I see it as an intense neurological response rather than emotional sensitivity, right? So
Well,
why can it's
um,
okay.
Okay, let me just
Hmm.
explain that. So there, RSD has two phases for
Hmm.
everyone, and that is the initial the initial neuroanatomical issues that
Hmm.
then become emotional
Hmm.
and become a habit.
Okay.
So it's got two parts to it.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
and the way to stop it is to stop it at the first anatomical part. And that's what my product does.
Hmm. So why does it become so overwhelming for neurodivergent people? And what actually can help regulate this?
Okay. Thank you. So, first of all, RSD occurs in 99% of people with ADHD, and I
Hmm.
am primarily ADHD.
Hmm.
Um, and it's a far lower number for autism. It's a lot worse. So let me just let me back up. So what happens specifically is a perceived rejection,
Hmm.
and it's perceived. It can be a look. It can just be somebody looking at you. The one
Hmm.
that I give that's a big joke is I send somebody a text and I was on read and they didn't respond. That'll drive
Hmm.
me crazy. Truly, like what I do,
Hmm. Hmm.
yeah. I mean, it's just something silly,
Hmm.
and that's all the ADHD part. So
Hmm.
what happens there is I feel rejected in some way. Remember, this is 99% of people have this issue with ADHD. The
Hmm.
first thing that happens is you lose good access to your prefrontal cortex. So the thing that stops you from going bonkers, it's offline. That's it.
Hmm.
Then there is an overexcitation of the limbic system. And you think about it, it makes sense. The limbic system is emotions.
Hmm.
So all of a sudden, emotions, horror, start going bunkers in your head. And then the reticular activating system gets
Hmm.
involved as well. So these two things are going up, going bonkers, and they're clashing with each other, and the gatekeeper ain't there. So, okay, does that
Hmm.
make sense?
It does. It does.
Yeah. So that's what happens initially.
Hmm.
Now, if you couple that with the prefrontal cortex very often not being as developed neuroanatomically, um,
Hmm.
then you can see how that becomes so much worse. When you add in autism to that and that need for quiet,
Hmm.
structure, and regulation, well, this stuff's going crazy. So this hits in every way.
Hmm.
Further, the neuron circuit that is created from it is the same as a physical pain circuit. It literally feels like I'm being murdered. It is feels like I'm being beaten up. I try to explain it, but it feels like somebody's throwing bricks at my face, and I have
Hmm.
to do something to stop those things from killing me. And it doesn't matter who it is because the
Hmm.
gatekeeper isn't home. It can be my husband, the most beloved person, or our child.
Hmm.
Who's going to be 32, but it can be her as
Hmm.
well. And I have to get myself someplace fast so I don't start screaming and doing things that lead to divorce.
Oh boy. Yeah.
Although
Hmm.
luckily now that we know about
Hmm.
me, it's made it a lot easier because my husband knows better what to do in that situation. And our daughter doesn't live here anymore, of
Hmm.
course. So
So what does a crash state look like to you?
I'm sorry, ask the question again.
How do you crash?
Okay. So
You say 2 hours of party time and then you're done. What do you do after you
oh
go home?
after I go home, I go in
Hmm.
my bedroom. I usually put some headphones on. I use my product now, and
Hmm.
I start getting it out as fast as
Hmm.
I can because
Hmm.
at the same time of being exhausted, um, my head can go really nuts about what I do, what I say. Well, this person looked at me like this, and this just happened at a Super Bowl party, and I left the Super Bowl party in less than an hour, and it was because that's what was happening. It was very loud. It was very, very loud. Everybody was talking at once. Everybody was standing up. Like nobody would sit down. And I just saw this solid concrete wall of, oh my God, get away from me, every one of you. And I looked at my husband across the room and I said, I'm going home. I'm done. I'm just done.
Hmm.
And this was
Hmm.
45 minutes in. And I just got up. I got through the crush of people who are my neighbors and my friends who I like a lot. put my coat on, I walked out, and luckily nobody was outside, and I started screaming. Just I had to
Oh.
get out the pain that I was in. And I was in a lot of pain, and physical pain. And I went home. I put my eye mask on. I put my headphones on with theta waves. I got in bed with the cat, and I just stayed there until I calmed down, and then I could go to sleep. And I slept for 14 hours. No, I didn't. I was in bed for 14 hours, and because that's what I needed.
Thank you for explaining that so clearly, because I've heard different people crash differently, and some
Yeah.
people retreat and some people go out into the woods and scream.
Yeah.
But everyone with ADHD, this is the first time I'm hearing about AUDHD, but people with autism, they have periods when functioning drops dramatically and they do something very different from what they were doing.
Yeah.
So, how do autistic shutdowns or ADHD crashes or AUDHD burnout differ neurologically?
Okay, so I'm just going to talk about AuDHD for
Yes.
that because it would take a long time to talk about both. So the problem with AuDHD for RSD is there's this real because people with autism, someone like me, I'm very sensory aware. I hear everything. I can hear your electricity. Very seriously. There's always a lot of input coming into me. There's also that people with autism have more neurons and people with ADHD have more synapses. So that further. So it first of all, it depends on which one is more dominant. So for me, the ADHD is a lot more dominant, even though I am pretty autistic. I mean, I'm not mild. Let's put it that way. It was actually a lot more than I thought. It was shocking to me. So what that means is that, and so there's all the sensory input coming in, that's the autism part. And then there's a hypervigilant needing to be okay at a party that causes the sensory overload to become very overwhelming. So the strategy is, if that's happening, and this is just for those kinds of crashes, there needs to be a good strategy, just like there needs to be a good strategy for RSD, for yourself, for your family. People need, this is what needs to happen. If mom is doing this, get away from her. Don't talk to her. And that's me. So for this, I know I have to go someplace that's quiet. That's all that it is. It has nothing to do with the people there. I had no problem with the people there. I had a problem with Stephanie with those people in that moment. And that's all it is. So you just have to have a good strategy. And I know for me, I need quiet, I need brain waves, I need my bed, and I need my cat. That's what I know. And that's what I do.
And how does recovery look for somebody with ADHD?
Well, for that particular one, I hadn't been sleeping well, and that makes it worse because when you're tired like that, this gatekeeper here is even more depressed. And so that's why I was in bed for 14 hours. And it was because I was already exhausted. And I slept 8 hours that night, which I needed, but the after effect of it can continue depending on how bad it is. And for that one, it did last a couple of days, and it was only because I was so overloaded. And people assume I have social anxiety. I don't. I don't have social anxiety at all. I mean, I can't get people to understand that this is literally neuroanatomical.
Beautiful. That helps put a language around experiences. So many people silently carry it and don't know how to say it.
That's right. Thank you.
Let's close off with something that shifts identity and self-perception. What is the biggest misconception about AUDHD that you find most frustrating? And how does understanding the neurological change, how does it change how people show up for themselves and for others?
How I show up? Okay. All right, that's a good question.
Mm,
So I'm just going to say personally, because I think this is different depending on where you are and with whom you're interacting.
mm,
Although because this can happen in a very safe environment when you're around other people who are on the spectrum
mm,
as well. So I think the biggest misconception is that I'm going to behave the way you think I'm going to behave.
mm.
Does that make sense?
It does,
So,
yes.
yeah. So, for example, before we came on, I gave you some very clear instructions because I know if
Mm,
I don't know those things, this was not going to go well.
mm,
So, I try my hardest
mhm,
to make sure people know that. And this is actually a great example because I was on a podcast about a month ago, and I mean we had an hour-long pre-interview. Everything went great. I told her this over and over again. I'm socially very concrete. You need to be very specific. You need to give me instructions. Da da da.
mm,
I got on there, nothing, and it was awful, truly. And I mean,
mm,
and I've seen it. This is an hour-long podcast, and it's really not good.
mm, mm,
Like it's really not.
mm,
So I'm not sure that I actually even want to advertise it because it's that not good. And so that's it. That thinking that, so if I say, I'm not going to read your social cues, I'm not going to know what that look on your face is, but I'm going to know there's a problem that's going to
mm,
give me distress. Things
mm,
like that, that's like the big problem.
mm,
And
mm,
so I try my hardest, and like especially in a business situation, to make sure people understand this about me
mm,
that this is who I am. It doesn't mean I'm stupid because I'm not. I
mm,
promise I'm not.
mhm,
Neither is Elon or Jeff. And they both have the same thing.
mm,
Don't forget the most successful people in the world are all on the spectrum. Every one of them.
mhm.
So that's it. Thinking that thinking I'm disabled in some way. I'm not disabled.
No,
No. I mean, I have 3 advanced degrees, postdoc work. I'm
you're a
not
professional
disabled.
psychologist.
Yeah.
It would be harsh to call you anything but professional psychologist.
Well, thank
And
you.
you have been wow so far. This
Thanks.
conversation is bringing in so much clarity and validation
Thank
to
you.
experiences that many people carry without understanding.
Thank you
So
so much. That's my
thank you for
goal.
being here. Yeah, you are
Thank
living your
you.
goal, and I love that.
Thank you
And
so much.
you guys, if this resonated with you, connect with Stephanie. Her links are right below in the description. Learn more about NeuroDraw, AuDHD, and neuroaffirming approaches that will work with your brain. Stephanie, what's a good place where people can get in touch with you?
My Facebook right now is the best place,
Got it.
and that will
Guys,
be
Stephanie's
provided below.
okay. That'll be in the description below. Take a look below. You'll find a little bit about Stephanie's bio and a link to her Facebook profile and a Facebook page. So get in touch. And if you found this episode meaningful, please like, subscribe, and share this channel with someone who might need this language and understanding right now. Because self-knowledge is not labeling, it's liberation. So thank you, Stephanie, for being here.
Thank you so much for inviting me on. I'm so thrilled to be able to share this so people understand.
Absolutely, yes. And let's just wait and see who my next expert is going to be. See you
See,
in the next one.
see.